Hello, this is Elizabeth Clare Brewington with Discover Brightside. We are here with Dr. Kim, who's going to be on our show, and we will be doing a series with her on health and wellness. And she has actually got a lot of information, and so she's starting with talking about Lyme disease. And we were very fortunate to hear from Samantha, who's a patient, and now she's a coach, and we'll make sure that the videos are available to you along with their links. So if you need their services, that you can find them. So over to my next guest, Narita Mills. Please introduce yourself and thank you for coming on our show.
Sure thing. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for having me. So my name's Nerida. I am based in Perth, Western Australia. I am an Aussie through and through. And I actually contracted Lyme's disease back in 2002 while traveling abroad. I was living in California at the time, we believe now. So at the time, the first symptoms for me of Lyme's disease was my hair fell out. And now I was traveling around. So my hair symptoms actually started whilst I was in Central America. And I saw a GP in Central America who told me that I had alopecia, that my hair would grow, fall out for 3 months, stay out for 3 months, come back for 3 months, and I'll be done. I was like, sweet, it's just a really cheap hairstyle. I'll be fine. So I was 19 at the time and lovely and righteous. So it didn't really bother me too much. It was just another thing that I could stand apart from other people with. And so I just allowed that time to pass as I was traveling through Central America. However, when the 9 months came to pass, just as it was about fully grown back in, it fell back out again. And so this started a 9 month cycle with my hair, which took most of my focus over the next few years. I also had uh, a lovely list of gut issues from traveling in places like Central America, which I could easily kind of associate to the fact that I had traveled. So I had quite a lot of gut issues. I had the alopecia, I had really bad fatigue, bit of mood swings, brain fog, definitely. But all of them could kind of get brushed away because within 2 years of getting the limes, I was pregnant and having children and all of these things. And so, again, it was just easy to kind of go, oh, that's because of this, that's because of that. Okay, well, that makes sense. Now, in Australia, the Australian Medical Association does not recognise that Lyme's disease exists in this country and also doesn't recognise that we are an international global society and travel around the world. Even if that was true that it didn't exist here, which I don't believe, there's plenty of evidence to the contrary. It's ridiculous that the AMA works the way that it does right now, because what it has allowed for is people like myself to go undiagnosed, misdiagnosed, and gaslit for over 20 years. So it's a very painful thing, I'm sure you're aware, to be told that you're crazy and that it's all in your head for such a long period of time. You do start questioning that, and I certainly did. Luckily, though, because I was so focused on my hair loss, I was focused on my gut health, and I was also traveling around the country, living on the land, lots of time outside, had a really healthy diet, and was able to keep the Lyme's disease at bay somewhat. Outside of the hair loss, I didn't, and the brain fog and the gut issues, which is enough, but it didn't get any worse than that until I was going through a separation in 2012, so 10 years later. And then my nerve damage started. So I started getting tingles in my right hand. It started, and it still is. I used to crochet. I couldn't crochet anymore. I used to make everything from scratch, and it became quite painful to even hold a wooden spoon and to stir. So I had all these weird symptoms, but because I was going through the separation again, I could just go, well, that's probably stress, and that's certainly what the doctors encouraged me to believe. So kind of dismissed it, kept on just focused on being healthy and moving on with my life and trying not to succumb to the fatigue that I was constantly told was just in my head, and I just needed to get my stuff together and stop being so lazy. So that went on for a little while, separated. By 2016, I fell into chronic fatigue and I was bedridden for about 6 months. At the time, I was also homeschooling my children, so you can only imagine how much of a failure I felt like at that point. It was quite challenging. But looking back now, it was actually quite a beautiful time with them because we all just got to snuggle in the couch or on the bed together. And be with each other in that way, which was really lovely. And they all have beautiful memories of it. But from a physiological standpoint, it was very challenging, obviously. But that was like my first taste, actually, of what was to come. So 2020, I had a full, what I call my drop. and that was full nervous system shut down. I couldn't walk, started losing the ability to speak. It all happened very quickly. I was training for is called the Rottnest Channel Swim, which is a 19.7 kilometre open water swim at the time, in a team of four. I'm not quite a crazy soloist, but in the team of four, I was planning on heading out across the ocean. And 3 weeks before the swim, I had to actually pull out because it was clear to me that there's no way I was going to compete in this swim. My first symptoms of this happened 5 weeks before the swim. So within 2 weeks, I was absolutely gunning, ready to go. Also training for my black belt at the time. And within 2 weeks of that first symptom, it was absolutely clear that there was no way I would be going anywhere. And in fact, I went over to Rottnest to watch my team finish in a wheelchair because I couldn't walk for extended periods of time. And it got to the point over the next 6 months where I couldn't take myself to the toilet, couldn't feed my children. I had to rely on the community of people around me to really help me and support me. And in fact, they raised $15,000 for me to be able to find some answers, which I didn't find until 2022, when I was finally diagnosed with Lyme's disease after seeing an alternative doctor who was willing to look at things differently. The initial treatment for the Lyme's just brought up all the Herx reaction. So I freaked out and took a big step back because, as I'm sure you're aware, going back into the depths of the illness is terrifying. And it was certainly something that I wasn't wanting to do. And I had fought quite hard over those 2 years to get my life back to a point where it was manageable, even though I was in a lot of pain on a regular basis and I needed a lot of rest and I could function for 3 days out of the week. That was functioning and I wasn't willing to give that up. So I kind of just went into let's just maintain this because everybody was saying it was incurable. Um, Although I'm a little bit of a rebel, so I kind of went, I don't necessarily think that that's true. I think that the body can heal anything. And so, yeah, it was diagnosed as functional neurological disorder back in 2020. Like I say, I finally got the Lyme's diagnosis in 2022. In 2024, I got another autoimmune condition diagnosis of colitis after getting another tummy bug. And the gastroenterologist at the time, looking at the diagnosis, I said to him, "Hey, I just need to let you know I also have Lyme's disease. If you need to take that into consideration." And he literally looked at me and said, "I can't take that into consideration. You have colitis." So even after the diagnosis, still not taken into consideration in this country. Certainly not taken into account in regards to any form of assistance. Really relate to what Samantha said about the cost involved. 2016 cost me about $10,000 to get myself out of. 2020 cost me about 25,000, and then in 2024, after that third diagnosis, and I was in a lot of pain a lot of the time, myself and my partner decided to lock in and give it a crack, give it everything that we had to be able to actually get me on the other side of it. And so February, March 2024, we started a protocol that we kind of made up using frequency healing along with herbal medicine, a lot of detoxification, and some support with a naturopath as well to be able to help the immune system obviously regulate and calm everything down. And that was another $20,000 into my health. But I'm very happy to say that in 2025, I've got the test results back that there is no detectable Lyme's in my body anymore. And I got that on my birthday, actually, which was fantastic. So where I am now is nearly a year away from that all clear. And in that year, I have swum the Rottnest Channel Swim. I've done that. That was one of the biggest bows that I wanted to tie, biggest knots I wanted to tie a bow around. I did that about a month ago, actually. I've come back into my business full time. I have published a book about everything that I've learned along the way, and I'm now wanting to talk to as many people as possible, not just about the fact that I do believe that it is curable. We just need to use different technology than what we've necessarily had access to in the past, but also that it does exist in this country, and we really need to start recognising it as a condition in Australia. That's me.
That was really What a story. And look how much you've done. Both you and Samantha. Did we leave? We lost Dr. Groom. Okay. But thank you, for your stories. And, this is really very, very powerful, day for us. So if you're watching and if you'd like to get a copy of Narita's book, I'll make sure that it's available at the Brightside bookstore as well as available to you with the video comment section in the YouTube comment section. So make sure that you click on that, buy her book, give her support, write a review, tell us what you think. And if you have a question for her, I'll make sure that I get those questions over to you. All right.